The wind pushes a rusted swing, its chains creaking softly in the empty air. It hasn't felt a human touch in 40 years, yet it moves like something unseen still remembers. Through the thick mist, a gray apartment block stands silent, every window black, curtains drawn tight as if the world inside never woke again. Each clock behind the glass stopped at 1:23 a.m. the moment the city forgot to breathe. A faint voice lingers in the air. Almost part of the wind, they said it was just a test. Far above, a drone drifts over what remains. Ferris wheels frozen mid-turn, parks swallowed by fog. The silence hums faintly, a low electrical pulse that feels alive. Inside one room, a child's toy sits in the corner, its paint peeled, its glass eyes blurred with decades of dust. A faint echo rattles through the halls, not footsteps, but memory. Somewhere beneath the layers of stillness, the city is waiting, patient, watchful, untouched, waiting for someone to step inside and realize that time never started again. Before that night, Pripyat was a promise, a city that glowed with faith in the future. Mornings began with steam rising from tin kettles and the rhythmic whistle of buses carrying workers to the nuclear plant. Engineers in gray uniforms filled the cafeteria, laughing between bites of bread and soup, proud to be building the safest reactor ever made. Children chased pigeons in the central square, their laughter echoing beneath murals of red stars and bright suns. Radios played soft love songs between official broadcasts about progress, unity, and power. Every apartment window pulsed with warm light. Wedding rings shimmered beneath fluorescent bulbs as couples danced to quiet music. Young scientists spoke of atoms like poets spoke of stars. They believed the future could be controlled, contained, harnessed, that humanity had finally learned how to outshine darkness. The amusement park stood ready for its grand opening, the Ferris wheel gleaming under a pale sky. The reactor loomed nearby, its towers breathing white steam, a monument to man's triumph over nature. This was the Soviet dream, alive and orderly, a vision of perfection built on faith and precision, the kind of life the world called ordinary. But ordinary things never last. Beneath the laughter and light, something small had already begun to shift, a vibration too faint to notice, a tremor hiding in the heart of the machine. Midnight. The control room hums with exhaustion. A single fluorescent bulb flickers above the consoles, washing everything in pale blue light. A technician leans over the dials, his fingers trembling as he scribbles numbers on a clipboard. The air feels heavy, close, almost metallic, the smell of ozone and hot steel. He glances at the clock, thinking of his wife asleep in their apartment across the river, the kettle she always forgets to turn off. He wants the test to be over. Just one more adjustment, one more sequence, and he can go home. A wrong number flashes on the monitor. For a heartbeat, no one speaks. Then someone coughs, sharp, nervous, and the silence deepens. The reactor groans softly, like something alive trying to breathe. It's within limits, a voice says. Another hesitates. Someone nods anyway. Outside, Pripyat sleeps beneath a soft wind. Curtains lift, dogs bark, cats hiss and dart into alleys. The Ferris wheel creaks once, though no one rides it. A woman wakes in her bed, not knowing why, only that something familiar in the night has gone missing. In the control room, a hand hovers over a switch. The technician hesitates, then exhales. At 1:22 a.m., he presses it. A low vibration fills the floor. The lights blink once. At 1:23 a.m., every clock in Pripyat stops. The dials freeze, the hum turns into thunder, and for the first time in history, humanity crosses a line it cannot see, a moment so small, yet vast enough to change the world forever. The sky turned white, not blue, not gray, but pure, blinding white, as if the sun itself had torn open above the earth. It lasted less than a second, yet every shadow vanished. Windows shattered before the sound reached them, glass exploding outward like breath from a dying giant. People fell to their knees without knowing why. At the power plant, the air itself glowed. Firefighters ran toward the blaze, sirens wailing in loops that faded under the roar. They thought it was a roof fire, the kind they'd faced a dozen times before. They didn't know the light they were running into was poison, that the glow on the horizon was made of particles that could eat through bone. They climbed ladders, boots slipping on molten tar. One man's soles fused to the roof. Another tried to pull him free, only to cough blood into his mask. They didn't stop. None of them ever did. Inside the control room, red lights pulsed like veins under glass. Gauges spun, alarms screamed, hands slammed against buttons that no longer responded. "It can't explode," someone shouted. "It's not designed to explode." But the floor vibrated like a living thing. The hum deepened, thick and heavy, shaking dust from the ceiling. Then silence. Alarms died. The hum stopped. The men stared at each other in disbelief, the kind of quiet that only comes when the impossible has already happened. Cameras captured the chaos, heavy boots pounding through stairwells, flashlights cutting through clouds of graphite dust, voices yelling names swallowed by static. The ground outside throbbed like a heartbeat beneath layers of concrete. A helicopter circled above, slicing through the rising smoke. The pilot radioed coordinates, his voice trembling as the instruments failed one by one. The rotor blades shimmered in the glow, then vanished as the aircraft disappeared into the invisible cloud, a plume of death no human eye could see. Across the river, Pripyat slept beneath curtains glowing faintly in the strange light. Dogs barked, then fell silent. The Ferris wheel, still waiting for its first official opening, creaked once, spinning a perfect, lonely circle without wind. In the streets, the air shimmered. No one knew what had happened. They only felt something deep in the chest, a pressure that didn't belong to the living world. The night smelled of metal and rain. And in that single instant, when the sky turned white, when fire became light and light became death, the world quietly divided itself in two, those who ran into the glow, and those who never saw them return. When the noise ended, Pripyat sounded like snow, a silence so dense it seemed to fall rather than rest. The air shimmered with dust that glowed faintly under the moon, settling on windowsills, on bicycles, on the faces of those still outside. A mother wandered the street, calling for her son, her voice muffled by the gray air. Each echo came back slower, quieter, until it stopped altogether. In the hospital, the corridors overflowed. People sat on the floor, breathing fast, shallow breaths. The nurses' hands were red and shaking, rinsing wounds that refused to close. The smell of iodine and smoke filled every room. Some patients were silent, others whispered prayers through cracked lips, their voices trembling with a heat no one could see. When the soldiers arrived, they moved carefully, their boots echoing wrong against the pavement, a dull, fearful rhythm. Their uniforms caught the same invisible dust, and they tried not to look at the sky. Even the birds had gone, the air felt hollow without them. By sunrise, Pripyat had begun to empty. Buses lined the streets, doors open, waiting. Windows gaped like wounds in the buildings. Breakfast still sat on tables. A pot of tea steamed itself dry. Laundry hung stiff on the balconies, motionless. And everywhere, the clocks had stopped at 1:23 a.m., not to mark time, but to remember the moment it ended. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion, an echo that history still hasn't let go. Because sometimes, silence isn't mercy. It's the loudest scream the past can leave behind. Decades later, the wind still knows their names. It drifts through cracked apartment blocks, carries the scent of rust and pine, brushes against the broken windows like a ghost remembering the shape of breath. Tourists arrive now, small figures in bright yellow suits, walking slowly through what used to be home. Their footsteps crunch over glass and leaves that no one has swept in 40 years. Inside the school, desks remain where they fell. A blackboard leans under the weight of time, the chalk marks still faintly visible, half-erased equations from April 26, 1986. A child's drawing of the sun, still taped to the wall, has faded to the color of bone. Gas masks lay scattered in corners like dropped faces. The air hums faintly, alive with particles too small to see. At the edge of the exclusion zone, a survivor stands behind the rusted fence. His hair is white now, his hands trembling as he looks toward the Ferris wheel, frozen mid-turn. He doesn't cry. He only whispers to the wind, as if the city might still be listening. We thought we were safe. The sound disappears into the trees. Moss covers everything: staircases, swings, the letters of old propaganda signs. Nature has taken the town back, but gently, like a parent reclaiming something lost. Birds nest in reactor towers. Wild horses walk through the streets at dawn. Time didn't stop here, it simply refused to move forward. The camera drifts higher. From above, Pripyat looks peaceful, almost beautiful, a painting of what humanity leaves behind when it forgets its limits. The voice returns, softer now. Maybe it wasn't the reactor that killed the city. Maybe it was faith, the kind that believes nothing can go wrong. The light grows stronger. Mist curls around the Ferris wheel as the sun breaks through, pale and forgiving. It wasn't the sea or fire or radiation that ended Pripyat, the voice says, fading into the wind. It was silence, the kind that follows every warning we refuse to hear. And somewhere beneath the moss, beneath the dust and the years, the city still waits, not for rescue, but for remembrance.